Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 2200, so 2200. The topic is nutrition, and the title is, How Much Does Overeating Cause Lost Progress? I had a client check in this past weekend. It was on Sunday, actually, and I texted them, hey, how was your weekend? How are you feeling going into next week? They responded, not good. I was like, oh no. They said, I have been overeating since my show. They recently competed. I had wanted to be a little relaxed over the holiday weekend, but I ended up gaining 12 pounds since Tuesday. How much will this set me back? Well, let's get some context. So from Tuesday to Sunday, 5 days, they gained 12 pounds. Holy crap. This does happen, so I'm actually not overly surprised, but I'm assuming this would be a shock to the majority of people. And the majority of that weight actually came from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I actually ended up texting them on Sunday, so they ended up getting their weight on Sunday morning. So really the main culprit was Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. What I want to do today is talk a little bit about what that added weight comes from, and how can we adjust for that? How can we relate that to progress? But if you want to learn more about body weight fluctuations, like how the human body can actually gain 12 pounds that quickly, podcast 2134 is a Q&A podcast titled, Why Does My Weight Fluctuate Every Day? So if you've ever wondered why the weight scale kind of changes a little bit or fluctuates a little bit every day, podcast 2134 will answer that for you. Now, this client was coming out of a contest prep. This is significant to know because we were working through a process of bringing their calories up from the diet calories, so that way we could get into a good off-season growth range of calories. But we wanted to do so in a slow manner so they wouldn't accrue excessive body fat. I'm going to give some numbers as illustration purposes. So these aren't 100% accurate, but this gets the point across. They ended their diet eating around 2,200 calories per day. Our estimated range for growth is around 3,200 to 3,600. So again, they were dieting at 2,200. And we believe that their maintenance a little bit into growth range is going to be 3,200 to 3,600 calories per day. So they were in a 1,000 calorie deficit, which helped them get lean for their show, but it would have caused their metabolism to have adjusted to some degree to a lower calorie intake than what would be typical in their off-season kind of full speed ahead metabolism. So their metabolism may have started, say, burning 3,300 calories a day, but they were eating an average of 3,800 calories, which gave them some surplus for muscle growth. So that's the off-season. Then, as they reduced their calories below 3,300, the body would have started to adapt by lessening calorie allocation to non-essential processes. So maybe they dropped to 3,000 calories. The metabolism was at 3,300, so there's now a 300 calorie deficit. The body will adjust, though. It will slowly start to bring its metabolism down to meet the calories that you're eating. But during that adjustment period, we're losing body fat. So the metabolism would have adjusted from 3,300 down to 3,000. So then the body fat, came off, but then it plateaued. So we dropped then from 3,000 down to 2,600 calories. Again, the metabolism will try to adjust as best as it can. During that adjustment period, we lose body fat, but as it adjusts, the body fat rate loss goes slower and eventually plateaus. So then we have to make another adjustment. Maybe we drop down to 2,200 calories, and their body maybe have adjusted down to just 2,400. That was kind of as low as it could go given the daily activity that we were doing in basic body functions. So this allowed them to be in enough of a deficit over time to get lean enough for their show. So they ended the diet at 2,200 calories, and their metabolism was around 2,400 calories. Our goal then would be to slowly increase calorie intake at a rate that the metabolism would adjust with, So you can rebuild a surplus to allow for muscle growth, but at a rate that doesn't excessively exceed the metabolism adjustment rate. So that way we can reduce body fat formation. So what happened with this client, though, is their metabolism through the process so far may have only risen to 2,800 calories. But for a few days, they were eating 3,000 calories because they were being a little bit loose and weren't paying attention. They knew what they were doing, so I'm not going to give them a pass and say they weren't paying attention. They knew it. They were just choosing to do it. And then over the holiday weekend, they went crazy, lost their mind, and ate crazy amount of calories. Maybe an average of 4,000 to 4,500 calories per day over the weekend, and maybe even more than that. So they consumed possibly 5,000 excessive calories above their metabolism since Tuesday. And it could be even more. We know that around 3,500 calories is associated with a pound of fat, meaning if we're in a 3,500 calorie deficit collectively over a week, we can lose a pound of fat over a week. But if we're in a collective 3,500 calorie surplus, we would gain a pound of fat. So, if they were collectively over by 5,000 calories, they would have gained roughly, let's just say, 1.5 pounds of fat. So where did the other 10.5 pounds come from? How did they gain 12 pounds? That would be from water retention and stored glycogen. When we have excessive carbs, sodium, and water above our baseline needs, the body stores those elements in the muscles as fuel. That's what's called glycogen. And especially more so when we weight train aggressively, which this client is doing. That storage of carbs, sodium, and water, that formation of glycogen, adds weight to our bodies. It's like filling a water balloon with water. It gets heavier. When you fill the muscles with water, they get heavier. So he would have gained maximal glycogen capacity, and then he would have started to form body fat. And he would have been also storing excessive water retention under the skin as well. And we can typically see that as we go through a day. Like when we wake up in the morning, if we ever look at ourselves in the mirror, we're tight and lean because we're dehydrated. And then as we go through the day, we eat, we drink, and we move. We're going to start to hold a little bit of water, maybe in our lower belly, maybe in our lower back over the kidneys, maybe in the saddlebags at the side of the hip. We typically don't look as lean and mean at the end of the day as we do at the beginning of the day. So we're going to feel fuller in certain areas due to water retention, which, we do associate as looking fatter, but it's actually just fullness due to water. So through the process of forming and storing glycogen, adding additional water weight through that process, as well as additional body fat and water retention under the skin, it would add up to that accumulated excessive weight. When this happens, when we overeat, we see the scale go up and we lose our mind. There are 3 things that are important to remember. Number 1, not all of that added weight is body fat. Some of it is just simple water retention under the skin. Some of it can be glycogen. It's not all body fat. Number 2, what comes on quickly comes off quickly. So if you gained it over just a couple days, it is likely to come right back off over a couple days, maybe a little bit longer, but it's not going to take you months to lose what you gained in a few days. Number 3, go back to the plan and be patient. You don't need to do some crazy corrective thing that causes a bunch of cravings and just turns you into this churning cycle of overeating, undereating, overeating, undereating. Don't correct the issue by doing anything excessive. If you did an excessive overeating, excessive undereating is not going to help. Just go right back to what your plan is, what your normal is, and be patient. Give it a week. So I just got a text from the client today, the day after, the morning after, and he said the scale already dropped a few pounds from yesterday morning. So that's exactly what you'll see happen. How much does overeating cause lost progress? Not as much as you think. But it is a slippery slope. You don't want to spend a day overeating, and then missing that day because you're overeating, and then missing a few days of progress because you're trying to give your body time to address and burn off any extra fat, get off the water, the glycogen, so it's back into energy deficit to create more fat loss. We don't want to eat, like say in a diet, Monday through Thursday, overeat Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because the following next Monday through Thursday is just correcting the past weekend, and you're never actually making progress. So it's like paying off a loan or a credit card. If you're only paying the interest, if you're only making the minimum payment, it's going to take you forever to pay off credit cards and loans, especially if you continue to use them. So just like you put a big charge on it, you pay off a little bit, then you put another charge, pay off a little bit, put another charge, you're never going to get that debt gone. But with discipline, financial discipline, you can pay above the minimum, you can actually pay into the principal balance, so you can get the debt gone faster. We also need nutritional discipline. You need to stay on your diet as much as you can. But when you do go off plan, don't freak out. Don't do anything excessive. Two wrongs don't make a right. Don't do an excessive reaction to something that was excessive. Okay? Get back on your plan instantly and remember those 3 things. Not all of the weight added is body fat. What comes on quickly comes off quickly. Go back to the plan and be patient. Okay. So how much does overeating cause lost progress? Some, but not anywhere near as much as you think. Get back on the program, give it a week, and you'll be back into making great progress. If you have any questions, if you need anything, shoot me an email at brutalirongym@gmail.com. Hopefully this podcast is helpful. If you do like the podcast, make sure you share it. The more people you share it with, the more people can help. You can share it on social media. You can share it in a conversation with a friend. Just let people know that the podcast exists and that I'm actually happy to answer questions for them for free through the podcast. And they can always reach out on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. Awesome. If you like the podcast, you can donate on this website if you'd like to. You can also go to nutricost.com for your supplements and use the code BrutalIron10. That'll give you a 10% discount on supplements and give us a 10% commission. So you get great supplements at a cheaper cost and we get a little bit of money, so that's a great way to donate. And then if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.